Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini review, and today we're talking about Emberleaf from City of Games, designed by Frank West. Now this is a game that I backed on Kickstarter, and I was really excited to get it because it had a mechanic that I thought was really cool and pretty unique, and then of course anthropomorphic animals, which I'm always here for. So with that said, briefly, what you're doing in this game is you are building up this wilderness and you're building buildings and moving your hero around the different clearings, battling bandits to get them out of there, and as I said, build different buildings that are going to be occupied by your friends, the rats and the toads and the weasels and whatever the heck they all are. And as you do this, every time you win a fight or fill a clearing completely with buildings, you're going to advance down this, I'm going to call it the battle track, because usually it's when you battle is when you go down this track. You're going to get rewards. Every time you get to the bottom, you're going to get some kind of benefit reward that's going to slowly give you points and maybe other players points as well, or items as well, or resources as well, as you're slowly advancing towards the end of the game, and then most points is going to win. Now the core of this is this tableau that you have on your player board. And as you play your cards, and it's kind of a deck builder, not really, because you're going to get, I believe, 4 cards max added to your deck throughout the game, and you're never drawing cards. You always have all the cards available to you that are in your hand, unless they're down on your tableau. And so you put them on your tableau, what's going to happen is either you're immediately going to get something, a resource or movement or combat, or the next way you use the cards is you do a slide. You slide all of your cards to the left. And as each one slides, if it has this arrow on it, then that means when it slides, you get the benefit of whatever the card is. And of course, when you do the slide, you kind of go top to bottom, left to right, and you activate all the cards that have the slide. Then the last one is when it falls off the edge of your tableau. So as you move them over, you're going to slide them over and eventually they'll fall off the side. When they fall off the side, some cards have something that activates then. And that's pretty much the core of the game. You're going to do your combat, simply look at the value of combat it is, and if the cards that you've played, whether they're sliding, being placed down, whether they're falling off, whatever, if it matches that number, then you'll take that tile, and that can be something that might get you points later on. I should also point out there are some cards that you can put out that you're going to spend resources and it'll kind of do a thing, and you can do those X amount of times before it falls off the edge and it comes back into your hand. And as I said, you're going to do this until eventually enough of the tokens have been claimed, and then that's going to be the end of the game. Most points wins. Now, with that said, what do I like about this game? Well, first off, I love the art. In fact, the art is the main reason that pulled me into backing this game. I mean, look at this dude right here. Like, that dude is awesome. And believe me when I say all of the characters in the box are awesome. Along with that, this wonderful look of the game, I do really appreciate that all of these different cards do something different. There's a ton of different, I'm going to call them contracts, not called contracts, that you can do to kind of gain points as you're going through. But really, the best part about this game, I think, is that core mechanic that I talked about. I've never played something exactly like it. I love tableau builders, so I love that I'm building this tableau and trying to figure out, well, do I want some instant gratification by throwing down the lightning bolt cards, or do I want to put down a couple of cards and then wait and then do a big old slide? I'm going to get a bunch of stuff as they slide. Or do I want to try to place them in the perfect spot so they'll fall off very, very quickly? And I should point out that you can place them wherever you want on the board. So they could take 3 turns to fall off, or it could take 1 turn to fall off. And then along with that, as you're building your buildings, sometimes you're taking them off of your tableau, your player board, which gives you extra benefits. It might be more spaces you can put things in. It might be more storage for goods, whatever. So all of that, I think, is actually really, really clever, and I really like that part of the game. It's actually the best part of the game, far and away, kind of building out this tableau, trying to figure out what buildings to put out onto the board to score the most points, and along with that, picking which kind of critter you're going to take off, because each critter that you pull off your board is going to give you a different benefit, and it's very, very clever all the way around. Next thing I'll say is, I'm not going to say this is an easy game to learn or it's a fast game to be taught. I'm not going to say that because it's not necessarily easy, but it is relatively simple. All of the different mechanics, there's nothing strange going on, just a little bit different. And so I appreciate that it is a simple game to explain, Again, it's not easy because you might have to explain things because there are definitely reminders as you go through, but it's a pretty simple game to learn. I always appreciate that. The last thing I'll say is there's some fun little expansion packs that you can get that are kind of seasonal themed and you get different kind of critters, and it's just really, really fun, new abilities. And the last thing I'll say is there's so many cards in this game. There are so many different critters that you can get into your hand. You're only getting 4 a game. It's a lot of different cards that are going to be coming into your hand and going to be doing different things as you play over and over again. And I really do like that. So what are my quibbles with the game? The first one, and probably the biggest one for me, is it's a long game. Even though turns can be quick, some turns, if they're sliding everything, might kind of build up and take a while. But even though turns are generally quick, the game is long. This is not a game that is anywhere near as quick as it looks like it's going to be. And that's not necessarily good or bad, but just something to keep in mind as you're looking at what is it, as you're deciding if this is something that you want. The next thing that I'll say is when you play at a high player count, and at RageCon we actually played with a full 5 players, and the downtime can be pretty big. Now, the caveat here is only 2 of us had played the game before, so there's 3 people who are learning the game. So that does add a little bit to it, but there are times when you do have long turns if you have a really good thing you've set up. And there are times when multiple people around the table have done that, and so suddenly you find yourself, it's been 10 minutes, 15 minutes since your last turn. So high player count games can be long. And that brings me to the other end of the spectrum, playing solo. I found the solo to be brutally hard. Like, just obliterated me, and I was playing on easy. Now, I talked to Michael Kelly, who's played a lot more of it solo, and he's said that there was actually times when he found it really, really easy. So it suggests to me that, 1, I'm bad at games, but 2, that the solo is a little bit swingy. And this is not a game that, personally, I would say, if you're only going to play this game solo, you should grab it just for the solo. I don't think this is one of those games. But there you have it, folks. That is Emberleaf. The production's wonderful. It's adorable as all heck, and it has a mechanic in there that I find really, really clever and really, really unique. And it's really quite fun. And I think if you are going to be playing this game at 2 or 3 players, then this is one really worth checking out. I think playing at 4 and 5 players, do it occasionally. I think playing solo, do it occasionally. But at 2 and 3, I think it's a sweet spot. And the more you kind of play through, the quicker things are going to go. And at 3 players, again, I think that's going to be where the sweet spot is. If you're into tableau building, if you like that idea of kind of the cards are either going to do something you put down, they slide, or they fall off. If that sounds cool, and you're going to be playing 2 or 3 players, and you like anthropomorphic animals, then this one's probably a can't miss, as long as you're not looking for a really fast game. But there you have it, folks. That is Emberleaf. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.